I'm Nurse Jessica Seitz, along with Nurse Erica. We're Nurses Uncorked, the podcast that takes nursing facts with nursing comedy and makes a little cocktail out of it. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Nurses Uncorked. Once again, I am your host, Nurse Jessica Seitz, along with my lovely co-host, Nurse Erica, that always has a lot to say about nursing. And we are joined today by a really special, cool guest. I'm really excited about this because I want to learn a lot about a very informative and entertaining nursing series. So Nurse Erica actually introduced me to Nick just here recently. So I'm going to kind of let Nurse Erica take it away, and we're going to jump right into it and have our cocktail of the week, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight.
This is my good friend, Nick Garr. He is the brains behind Nurses Station, the series on YouTube, which we're going to do a deep dive into. How are you doing, Nick? Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you both. And Jessica, thank you for that great introduction. No one has ever said cool when they were introducing me. So thank you. That was nice. Really nice.
I think you're cool so far, Nick. I don't know. Maybe you'll change my mind, but
well, I'm hoping I don't, like I said to Erica, I hope I don't get the Enema Award by the end of this podcast.
No. We'll save that for another podcast. Don't worry. You won't get it on this one.
Good.
Before we get into it, I'm going to do our cocktail of the week. So I recently returned from Costa Rica. I'm wearing my Pura Vida t-shirt here. And all I drank when I was there was pina coladas. So this week, we're doing a pina colada.
Yummy.
So I've got the rum measured out. You want about 1.5 ounces of that. And I've got ice in here already. And I've got, because I'm cheating, the pina colada mix in here. And normally I would blend this so it would be more of slushy mix, but that's okay. We can't do that right now. So cheers, pina colada, Nurses Uncorked.
That was the easiest pina colada I've ever seen in my life. But hey, it works. I'm used to the whole blender and the ice chunks, but hey, I like that one too. Whatever gets the job done. That's all all I got to say. All right, so Erica, tell us about our guest Nick Garr here. What is this whole Nurses Station series?
Yeah.
What's going on?
All right, so why don't we start with telling us just what the series is about, Nick?
The series is about a group of nurses in a fictional hospital. It is set in an intermediate care unit and at a nurses station, in and around a nurses station. And it's basically, the premise is what are the feelings of professionals in the workforce, the frontline workers, and what are they thinking, what are they feeling during the course of their shifts, is basically what it is. So the way it's laid out, it's in a kind of a documentary style, the kind of thing that you'd see if you in The Office or in Parks and Recreation or in Waiting for Guttman, or those kinds of Spinal Tap, those kinds of things, where it was a mockumentary. And the reason for that is there's a couple of reasons. The episodes are only 5 minutes long, because for a lot of reasons, which we'll get into. But
some are a little bit longer, some are a tiny bit longer.
7 minutes.
And there's one that's 3.5, so averages, 4 to 5. But the reason for that is because, look, I got to get a lot of information out in a very tiny amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have a character giving exposition for no reason in the middle of a scene. Everyone has to act very realistically. The only way to circumvent that is if they have what we would call a talking thoughts section, where we hear their thoughts. Now, there's lots of ways to do that. I chose the like you would see in The Office, where they're looking at the camera and they're saying what they're thinking.
Love The Office. Love The Office.
So it's the same kind of idea. Now, the reason for that is when we were first shooting, because we wanted to keep it very authentic, hospital staff were required to have masks on all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, okay, that's great. And if you notice, they have masks on when they're in the scenes, but when they're doing their thinking, their talking head section, I'm able to take their mask off, and you get to see the actor. You get to see what they're doing, and because it's out of time and place. when they're talking. That kind of just
I didn't realize that. Yeah,
that's the reason for it, because you don't want to have an exposition dump in the middle of a scene. That's boring and it's bad writing. So in order to make that plausible is the talking thought. You've seen that in movies where you hear like a narration. That's one way of doing it. I wanted the actor to actually say what they were thinking. So that's the reason.
What is that called? Breaking the third wall, or
breaking the fourth wall?
Fourth wall.
And on stage, you have the left, the right, the back wall, and you're the audience. The audience is the fourth wall.
Yeah,
like a box.
That brings me into Nick. What is your background? Are you an actor? Are you a nurse? Are you what? Where do you come from, Nick? Tell us a little bit.
Jessica, I am all of the above.
Well, I won't lie. I know that already, but a little bit. But most people don't.
True lawyer fashion. You already know the answer before you ask the question.
But nobody else does. So tell us, what came first, the actor or the nurse?
The actor came first.
Okay.
I grew up in the Bronx. My mother. This is pertinent to what's going to come. My mother and father. My dad was a New York City policeman. My mother was a nurse, and she worked in the trauma centers in the Bronx. And as I grew up, I just started to gravitate towards the theater. I loved it, doing the school plays and all that stuff. And then I worked professionally. I did Broadway, did films, did some TV, all that.
Oh, wow.
While I was doing that, I thought, I would like to bring this to kids. So I created an outreach program in the South Bronx. I created a company called City Theater Project, a nonprofit, where we were doing teaching and we were bringing theater, and you use theater as a tool for education. For example, we would do mini productions of, say, 12 Angry Jurors. Used to be 12 Angry Men, 12 Angry Jurors. And you learn about the justice system that way and how it works. So that's how it's an educational tool. Conflict resolution. What is this person saying? Why is this person doing this? Because actors need motivations. You have to, in order to play a part, you have to know, what is it you want? What are you going to do to get it? All that. And that's not too different from how people behave in real life. So it gets you to empathize for people, because you have to look at things from their point of view. Well, why are they doing this? Right. Why are they saying this? All that. So that's how it works in conflict resolution. But I was learning that some of these kids had issues at home or in school or wherever.
Sure.
Because when you're teaching acting, well, what is a scary thing for you? What is a happy thing for you? There's a certain amount of self-reflection that happens. And when I did that with them, all these things would come up, and I was ill-equipped to handle that part of it. So I thought, well, that would be interesting if I had more credentials in that part. And my plan was to go and become a pediatric psych nurse is what I wanted to do.
Oh, wow.
Because my mother would encourage me to go into nursing. Oh, there's all this flexibility, all that. You can do so many different things. I thought, all right, great. I didn't want to be a social worker. Pediatric psych nurse sounded like a good thing. So I went and I went to school, and I passed the NCLEX and all that stuff. And people would say to me, you're going to get into psych nursing. You're going to lose all your nursing skills.
Yeah, that's what they always say.
That's what they say. I mean, I don't know if that's really true, but that's what I was told. I'm going to work at the bedside for a few years, really get my skills down. It'd be hard
I was going to say, Erica approves of this message, right, Erica? She's always
I do.
Yeah. She's a big advocate.
Get in there, get your experience.
Yeah. So to know because I listened to nurses, I had some really good teachers in school, and this was what they advised. And that's what I did. And then I never left the bedside. And that threw that whole psych nursing thing out of the plan. And the outreach program kind of took a back seat because I was working as a nurse a lot. And boy,
what
exhausting.
It's like on
your day off. You are shot, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened with that. I would still do things in the theater. I would direct, because honestly, if you're working as a full-time nurse, you can't do the other thing because because even
It's
if you
exhausting.
do a 2-week play, when are you going to get the time to rehearse and the time to go
Right.
somewhere? You can't. And
Right.
with the whole, we won't go into the staffing issue thing, but we don't have enough staff. You can't take time. Your PTO is denied. All
Denied.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So the 2 careers as a full time, because I needed the health benefits, was just incompatible. So I would do little things where I had control, where I would direct and I would go away and I would do little things.
Okay. So nursing is your second career.
It is my second career. Yes.
All right. And then how did you end up starting the series? What was the motivation?
Can I interject? I just want to say I have a lot in common with Nick, and I didn't know this. But
how?
Because I grew up wanting to be an actress. That was my dream. Was I grew up watching Spanish soap operas. Okay, like I'm from a Hispanic background. I know the show isn't about me, but I get where Nick is coming from. Like I was always a very dramatic kid, and I just could see myself. Yeah, I know, right? I could see myself. I wanted to be like on All My Children or General Hospital. Like that was like my passion, my dream. Like that would have been my dream job, would have been to have been an actress. And why does that happen to us, Nick? When that doesn't pan out, we become nurses.
Well, in my case,
I have a theory about that, but
in my case, I had I had started a family, and so I couldn't afford downtime. Like when you're a bachelor, you can afford downtime. It's no big deal.
Right.
But you have someone depending on you, and you need health insurance.
You got to make the money. Yep.
You got to do something. Now, the reason why I went into nursing was a couple of reasons. As I said, I wanted to do the psych nursing thing because I notice a lot of artists when they change careers. I've known of quite a few of them that go into social work. Why? Because you're analyzing people and you're doing things. That's what you do as an artist anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you already got that muscle pretty strong and you're already interested in that. I wanted even more flexibility in what I wanted to do. And being advised by my mother, who was a nurse, that's where that pops in. I felt I was able to do more. If I became a nurse, I could do different things. So that's where that jumping off point happened.
Okay.
Then, so how did I get to the series? Then COVID hit.
Seems like everything.
And all
COVID
the things
changed everything.
Now, okay. So I'm going into the nursing career, and I swear, this is what went through my mind. Oh, it's going to be great in that I won't have to deal with all the egos.
Oh,
and
no.
I won't have to deal with all the self-centered, people, because when you're in show business, you got plenty of that, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, was I surprised that it was in some cases worse?
Yeah.
And that was a shock. So there were things that, of course, that bothered me about the nursing profession. Although, of course, when you click with a patient and you actually do something with them, I mean, there is nothing that's like a standing ovation.
Yeah.
It's a euphoric feeling that's just fantastic. On the flip side of that, if things don't click or you're dealing with people that are difficult, your colleagues even, it's worse than a root canal. So
True.
Right? And there were things that I really didn't like about the profession that were about the way I felt we were treated just generally from all corners, even internally, like I said, with colleagues and all of that. I was just dumbfounded by a lot of it. So COVID hit, and it really shone a light on all the things that really bothered me about the profession. Not just about
for everyone,
profession.
I think it just took all of the blinders off of everybody and made it undeniable what's taking place.
Right. I mean, my feeling about how patients would treat us. There's a whole episode on Nurses Station about, the patient doesn't care that they are COVID positive, and
The
and
COVID episode, right?
The COVID episode.
That's
right.
what it's called. It's a great episode.
Love Thy Neighbor is the name of the episode, because it's about taking care of other people too. That the fact that you've heard this, I didn't think really administration was looking out for us, and this happens in the episode. Oh, no one goes into isolation rooms except the nurses.
Yep.
We were
only
the
nurses.
Only the
Right.
nurses. Not
Right.
the doctors. We would do the doctor's assessments basically and give them the information, and they would write the order.
Yeah.
And
Not
I thought,
dietary, not EVS.
not house.
Make the nurse do it.
The nurse and the respiratory therapist
Mhm.
were the two.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is wearing real thin. This is the first wave when we had the N95s and we were reusing them, and the Joint Commission, I was against the Joint Commission and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, all the rules now are out the window?
Yep. Poof, gone. Vanished
gone.
like a fart in the wind.
But that's okay. We're going to put it our PPE was
Non-existent.
Bandanas.
non-existent.
Garbage
because,
bags.
Well, we were using the same PPE that you would use for MRSA or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think we don't know what this thing is. We didn't know what it was. This was
Yeah.
the first wave when we didn't know how it was communicable. How was it droplets? What was it? Was it as contagious as TB? I would come home every night. This is when we would change. We would change at the hospital and then change again at home. Before we even went in the house, we didn't know. We said, well, what about all the OR, disposable PPE because they have to do sterile fields and all that with booties and all and hat. Yeah, no, you can't use that. Like, I had to get, we got our own bandanas because they actually said, oh, you can go in. It's like, no. So I would come home and my wife finally said, you know what? You don't have to do this. This is, I could see what this is doing to you. And so I quit. I stopped because it was really having an effect on me.
Yeah.
How long were you a nurse before you got into the series? Like, how long were you in
17
nursing?
years.
17
Oh,
years.
wow.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you've been in it for a long time. Yeah.
So I had written a play about similar to this stuff, but I wanted to say something about the profession and about the medical, the whole medical machine, the whole broken system. You can't really, if you're telling a story and it needs a story arc, last thing you want to do is you want to start preaching to people and getting on a soapbox, because once they get a sense of that, they turns people off.
Right.
So a friend of mine suggested, why don't you make this a series? And I thought that was a really great idea because also more people would see it, and I thought that was a great way to go. So that was the genesis of the series. It's really, I had so many things that bothered me about the profession and bothered me about just medicine in general.
Right.
Everything from the patients themselves to the administration.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought, there's two things I want to accomplish with this. One is I want nurses to tell, I want our stories out there. I don't want the Nurse Jackie stories. Not that there's anything wrong for that, but that's melodramatic.
That's entertainment. We need the real story being told.
Right. Exactly.
Not that doesn't happen. I mean, Nurse Jackie, the scenario, she's got a back injury because she's nursing. She's addicted to
she's
Percocet
screwing the pharmacist
and she's
for narcotics. Yeah.
But it's following like one topic, like one main topic, one character, like as opposed to all the systematic breaks. Yeah. Right.
Well, right. Very melodramatic, and not that stuff doesn't happen, but that's not the kinds of stories I wanted to tell. I thought on a day-to-day basis, nurses go through extraordinary things.
Right.
And I wanted to tell those stories because I think they were pretty extraordinary. In the meantime, so that's one of the things. One of the other things that's related to it is I wanted the public to know what we go through, because I don't think they do.
They don't. They don't have a clue.
No.
And my feeling always has been, look, you can write articles, you can litigate, which is important stuff too, but the regular person, you really hit them with message when you're entertaining them and they don't know that there's a little, commentary going on along with it. I think that's when you really get your points across and what you're trying to do. I mean, how much influence have movies had on the way people dress or the way people, do things? It's really powerful stuff. So those two things, to tell the nurses' stories, the real nurses' stories, and to sort of educate the public as to what we go through in an entertaining way.
You're definitely accomplishing that. You really are.
Well, thank you.
I'm curious, do you have a favorite episode? Because I have one.
You
and
do?
I'm wondering what yours is, if you have one.
You know what they say? Writers or artists, whatever, it's like their children, whatever it is. And you can't really say you prefer one child over another. I mean, there are some things... There are some things that I would look at technically and I'd go, well, I would kind of do that differently. I think it would move fast. I think it would move faster if I did this or if I cut this out. Only technical stuff.
Okay.
I mean, I like parts of the COVID episode that gets me.
That's a powerful one.
That little montage at the end.
What episode number is that, by the way? Because I have not seen that one.
That's episode
6.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen 6. I'm going to have to watch it tonight now.
We take off our masks and you see the marks that we used to have. It's really powerful, I think, anyway. And it's cathartic for me. I mean, that's how I exercise some of the demons of it from doing this. So, I don't know. I liked episode 1 because we're getting our feet wet.
Can I tell you something about episode 1? And it's not my favorite episode, but it's so powerful for those that haven't seen it yet because it starts out in the middle of a code, like active compression.
Oh gosh, the family member there.
The family in the background says, and I think I'm quoting it correctly, and says,
"You're killing him."
In the middle of a code. Yeah, but
you're killing him.
Did he just poopy? Why isn't anybody cleaning him?
That is
the
so
rage
typical.
that I feel as a nurse. I'm like, because they're literally pumping his heart and breathing for him, and that takes priority over the poopy.
Yeah, like as a nurse, you want to say, because either I can stop to clean his ass, or I could keep him alive and ventilating. You pick. Like I realize family members don't get that, but it definitely brings that into reality. And then the whole part of what's that noise? That you're killing him. Like I was like, oh, that is so
we're
typical.
Saving him. And it's so realistic. I have to give you props. It's so realistic that I feel the nurse rage that we feel every day on the unit, dealing with people that just don't know any better or that are just oftentimes plain difficult. And I feel that just as if I'm on the unit. You really capture that.
What's even better is the nursing administrator or whoever that part was when she says, statistically it shows that that's such a typical thing, that they're happier when they can see what happened to their loved one and know that you did everything to save them. And you want to say, stick your statistics up your okay? Because truly, it's not quite going down like you think it's going down. And
I mean, that was one of the things that used to bother me. Well, it's evidence-based practice. And according to the thing, I'm like, well, according to my evidence, that's baloney. I've only been ever had that happen where they tell you, statistically this, but your experience is the exact opposite.
My favorite is when the educator that, hasn't really been a hands-on nurse forever will pop in the room in the middle of a procedure or a situation or something and start touting that evidence-based. Like, please, it's like, Rachel, this is not the time. Please.
That's when you want to say, when was the last time you worked the floor, Rachel?
Yeah.
When was
but
that?
You see, that's okay. So that brings on to the, I look, a lot of times you have administration making choices, that are strictly bottom line driven. right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Financially driven.
Right. Financially driven. And that was what, in that episode, bringing family members in. If you talk to any nurse, I think most nurses would say, no, that's not a great idea, bringing people in.
Yeah.
If you've been in the code, you know how chaotic it is. You don't need an unstable element of a family member in there.
That is taking away resources, because you basically have to give one of the staff members to the family to interpret everything, to explain everything, and to make sure that they're not in the way. So you're essentially taking away resources from the patient.
Either that, or they're distracting you. Because if they're in there and you're trying to do something, it's distracting. Even though you're in your zone, if you have somebody hollering out, why are you doing this? Why aren't you cleaning the poopy? As much as you try to tune it out, it's distracting, and it can slow you down.
It's all true. But the point also, there's several points, but one of them is listen to your nurses. They know what they're talking about.
Right.
Because they haven't gone through medical school. You think they don't know what they're doing? They know better in a lot of spots.
A lot of times, yeah.
Like Jessica, like you said, because of their research trumps everyone else's on-hands experience. That used to drive me nuts when they would want us. They would put in a new policy, and they would claim that it's all evidence-based. And I'm like, I don't know what evidence you're talking about, because that sounds
right. In
absurd.
reality, that doesn't work.
When they first introduced bedside report.
Oh, God, don't even get me started on bedside report. I am probably the only nurse manager or leader that I've ever come across that is staunchly against bedside report.
Why?
I hate bedside report.
I'll tell you why. Because my background is all peds, right? So bedside report means that you are very often in situations where you're talking about abuse, neglect, sexual abuse, all sorts of things. But CPS has not done their investigation completely yet. And so the dad or the mom's boyfriend or whoever that we know did this horrible thing is right there at the bedside. Now, how are you supposed to talk about this appropriately? Or there's all these broken families. So it becomes, mom and boyfriend against dad and girlfriend or stepmom. And it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for my specialty.
Exactly the point. I mean, I not just slightly different when you're dealing with adults, but we would have semi-private rooms. What happened to HIPAA? What happened?
HIPAA
who? Happened to all the nurses? That's the first thing they said. And every lawyer from upstairs came down to try to snow everybody that it was perfectly okay.
Yeah, because the magic curtain protects everything. Right?
Because they want to present, it's the old, listen, patients should know what's going on. I'm all for that. And I really do. Sometimes patients and family members, they know their patient, they know their family members better than we do in a lot of ways.
Sure.
I've had that happen.
Of course. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to totally, discredit doing that, because there are advantages. You go in and you're given a handoff and you notice that piggyback hasn't been opened, right?
Right.
Little things like that does happen. But for the most part, Erica, what you said about spilling all this information out,
it's inappropriate, and it creates so many problems.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we need to give report at the nurse's station outside the room, and then go inside together and do a quick check and a quick update.
Because how many times have you had to give bedside report and you have to write something down on paper because it is something that's important to say, but it's inappropriate to say in front of a family member? Like, I mean, there are some things like, that's not the father, that's the grandfather. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that you just don't need to say to embarrass somebody.
Or you use medical abbreviations and they don't know. And so then they're interrupting you. What does that mean? What does that mean? And it doesn't sound like it would be that time consuming, but it really does add so much time. And then what you have is you're clocking out late. you're getting fractional overtime. You get your manager on your ass because you constantly are clocking out late. Well, I would probably be able to clock out on time if I didn't have to go in 5 separate rooms and do bedside report.
Right.
I mean, I was always all for bringing the nurse, the that you're handing off to in and introducing and this way you do catch things and maybe, but to give the entire report in front of them, I always thought it was a big mistake.
Me too.
But that was my impression. I mean, when I would try to not do that, they would be on my butt and I used to get in trouble because I'm like, I can't even receive my information the way I want, for Pete's sakes.
Right.
So this is a good point. We're at our halfway mark, so I'm going to interject like I always do rudely, like every episode, and do the middle of the Nurses Uncorked, which it just comes out of nowhere. You never know when I'm going to drop this. It just, we could be in a deep conversation, and it's like, halt. We're going to do our nursing problem of the week.
Let's do it.
We're going to do this briefly and quickly, but we're going to address the problem. So I got an email a couple weeks ago on Nurses Uncorked to our main email account. I don't have the email in front of me because I just don't. But the question was, and it was presenting a problem. It was a nurse, a young nurse, who has a mother that is also a nurse. And the mom is close to retirement age. Okay. She's maybe like a year out from retirement. And what the daughter expressed to me was that her mother lately has been, I don't want to say bullied, but almost like she feels like she's being pushed out of her profession early. Her mother's older. It seems like she's slowed down a bit, but in an effort to almost catapult her into forcing herself to retire, they're giving her harder assignments. They're giving her more difficult things. They're being harder on her to the point that she said, I'm sad because my mother is actually contemplating retaring early because things are harder on her than they were. And what do we do? I've told her, to complain, to go this and that, but she doesn't, she's old school. She's an old school nurse. She doesn't want to ruffle feathers. And it was like, what do I do? And that is, I've seen this happen on my unit before too, with older nurses. Yeah. And it
does happen.
What do you think, Erica? Like, I mean, what can somebody do?
First and foremost, just acknowledging that it's real, because a lot of the time this comes through in a very gaslighting way, and they have the nurse second guessing their own reality, so just acknowledging that, no, this takes place. This is absolutely real. And it's very unfortunate. And, the reasons are often financially motivated, because let's face it, a nurse of 30 years or however long is earning substantially more money than a new nurse, right? So they're costing them more. So they would much rather replace that experienced wealth of information with a new grad for half the price, right? Or maybe it has something to do with benefits. Maybe she has some health problems, and so her insurance is costing the facility more. Or maybe she's one of the few that has a retirement plan, and they're trying to maybe get out of paying that full pension or something like that. It absolutely happens, but it's sad because she deserves to be able to retire on her own terms and have it be a happy thing instead of a forced sad thing. And it is harder for some older nurses because now everything is electronic, where it used to not be, like the EMRs, and that doesn't necessarily come as easily to them. And so they find these convenient excuses to use against them instead of highlighting all the wealth of information that they are. It's really unfortunate.
But what pisses me off is what's wrong with giving somebody maybe, yes, give her a softer assignment. What about seniority? What about the fact that this woman has probably been there 25, 30 years? Why not be a little bit easier on her? Does she not deserve that? Does she not deserve a little bit of freaking compassion that she's devoted her whole life? Her knees are probably giving out. Her back is giving out. And we need to be assholes and push them because they're not keeping up fast enough. I mean, that to me outrages me more than anything. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I used to have a nurse that...
I want to see what Nick's take is on this.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I think Erica kind of hit it on the head. Again, it comes down to the financial aspect of it. The reason why is they want to squeeze them out. I've seen this happen before, where they suddenly a whole unit has all these new grads, and all the people that I work with, really experienced nurses, they made it so difficult for them that they decided to leave, and it's because their salaries are on the high end, because their insurance is probably more expensive, because they have illnesses of some kind. Yeah, that's totally all the financial. I've seen that happen. I mean,
it's ridiculous. It's sad. It's freaking sad. I mean,
and there's a form of ageism, but it's so hard to prove. It really is.
Well,
that's the thing.
A paper trail, always a paper trail. Just always. I mean, we have an episode.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah, well, these are issues. I'm always trying to get an issue in a story. So there isn't a story kind of like this in Nurses Station, where it's actually a new nurse who's given like an assignment that's just a little over her head.
Yeah.
And is it bullying, or is it, well, they got to learn, that kind of thing.
That was an interesting episode that dealt with nurses eating their young.
Yeah.
Like you didn't shy away from that, of showing a nurse in a negative light, because I mean it's real.
Well, I never want to show a nurse in a negative light if I can avoid it. Like we were saying before, there are reasons why people behave a certain way, and if you look at that particular episode, Cinderella Rising, it's called. I think it's the 5th one. The reason is because we get dumped on. The nurse who's like kind of the bully is really very nice, and she's justifying it. Well, you got to learn sometime. It doesn't matter that this assignment is over your head and it's going to scare the crap out of you, and you'll have no support. But you got to learn, and the reason is because she gives a whole list of the things that she went through just in that day, where she's been humiliated and she's been,
And I did it when I was a new grad,
right? And as they say, the crap rolls downhill, and that's, I think, happens. And I want to give reasons why people on both sides behave the way they do, and that's one of the things of the series I try to do is everyone's going to go into a hospital at some point, either as a patient or as a visitor, right? And things, they have a preconceived idea. Everyone's got a preconceived idea from television or wherever of how things ought to be. And if things don't go that way, they get angry, they get frustrated, they complain. But what I'm trying to do is, well, maybe there's a reason. There's a reason for it. One of the things that I say, one of the catchphrases is that this is not a hotel. Yes, we want everyone to be.
Thank
we
you.
Want,
the H outside is not for hotel.
I got to do our little pitch here. That's our little merchandise.
Merch.
I like it.
This is not a hotel mug.
Look, every nurse that I worked with, I was very fortunate. I worked with really nice people, and everyone wanted their patients to do well and feel comfortable and all that stuff. But sometimes someone is coding, someone is having a stroke, someone is having a problem of some kind, and we can't get you your ice, and we can't
your
get you
ice is not a priority.
Right, but that's not what's presented to the patients. What's
they don't see it that way. They don't see it that way.
They don't see it that way.
Is that no one cares and no one's answering me, ma, and she's being ignored. Yeah,
everyone's twiddling their thumbs.
My husband always jokes and says the nurses are trading meatloaf recipes. He's a physician, but he says that's how patients see it. Like they're just at the nurses station trading meatloaf recipes.
But why?
They're just on their phone. Well, we're on our phone paging the doctor, looking up your obscure disease process, trying to contact pharmacy or whatever. We're not just sitting there.
Where do they get these ideas from? They get them from the hospital themselves, because the hospital is presented. If you look at any ad for a hospital, everybody is smiling and it's all very pleasant. It looks like a resort.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so naturally, a person who doesn't know anything about it goes in there and expects to have that kind of thing. They don't know the nurse just put someone in a body bag. And maybe that's why they come in and they have a puss on their face. I mean, are there nurses and doctors and whoever, respiratory therapists who may not be nice people.
Sure, it happens. Yeah.
But for the most part,
that kind of segues into my favorite episode, which is episode 2. I don't remember the title, but it really resonates
Nurse
with me.
Overboard.
Yes,
Nurse
thank
Overboard.
you. It resonates with me because it's all about, the manager saying, I received complaints about you. Why can't you just smile more? Why can't you just, have a nicer demeanor? And that's something that I used to hear from managers all the time. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm not the cheerleader nurse, and I'm never going to be. But I am the direct, hold no punches, advocate for you till my dying breath,
right,
getting what you need, nurse. And that is more important. And so, no, I'm not going to come in and be all smiley and joking. I'm going to be getting my job done and being very transparent with you and doing what needs to be done. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this whole notion that it's customer service and we need to give 5-star treatment is such bullshit. And it's ruining the nursing profession. It truly is.
Erica, what could you have done better?
Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly.
What could you have done better to make them not mad at you? What could you have done better?
Look, that episode is I just gives me a chance. Some people I really should mention who helped make Nurses Station great. I mean, my director of photography, Jack Furtado, is fantastic and helps me. I direct, but if I'm in something, he tells me if it's good because I can't play it back. There's no time.
Right, because you're acting and directing.
Right, and I have to do 10 pages in a day, and it's just very difficult. So he's outstanding, and he's great work. And of course, one of the producer, Eliana Gonzalez, is great, and she's the one that reached out to you, Erica. She handles all the social media stuff, and she found you. And she thought you should be aware of this, and so that was all her doing. And she's in charge of casting, and it's just fantastic. So
wait, when are me and Nurse Erica going to be on an episode?
I would love both of you. You'd have to come up from Florida, and Erica would have to come over from Nevada, and I would love to have you.
I would love to.
You tell me when, and I got you. I'll be there.
I'd love to take you all on to a Broadway show or something and show you around. I would love to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Can we please? Can we please? I would love it. I don't know how good of an actress I would be. Can I play the nurse manager? I got that role down.
I have nurses in it. I mean, they may not, they don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the roles, but I want real nurses in it. One of the things, the goals is to show an accurate portrayal of procedures and equipment. And man, let me tell you, I'm learning that's not so easy. I understand now why some of the TV shows don't do that right. And sometimes it's because they have to tell a dramatic story. That's the main focus. And if you have to move fast and something, that wouldn't happen so quickly, or there's a reason for some of that. I mean, the using a piece of equipment incorrectly, I don't think there's any real reason for that. But sometimes procedures can be sort of tweaked a certain way because you have to entertain
at the same time. You're trying to portray it in the best light, but you have to also entertain.
That's kind of a juggling act to do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I get it. So
I
thank you for that compliment.
I want to know, when you decided to have this idea to do Nurses Station, how do you bring this into fruition? So you're like, I want to do this. You're essentially initially on your own. It's your idea. How do you bring all of these people in? Who do you contact? Or is it you started alone and slowly brought people in? Like, how do you make the production done so well?
I started off by the things I wanted, stories I wanted to tell, and things I wanted to say as a nurse, like I said, to have the public know. So I write a script.
Okay.
There are people that I know in the entertainment business who, like Eliana, who I approached, I thought would be really great for this. And so I approached people that I knew that I would like to work with, who I think this would be mutually beneficial for. And they bring their talents to it, and they have their own network. And they help with equipment. They help with all kinds of things. Jack is great with all the technical stuff. And so when it comes to actors, sometimes we do open calls, we have something called Actors Access, where actors have their pictures and resumes up. We put up a character breakdown of what an episode requires, and actors submit, or their agents submit them for our consideration, and they'll tape a part of the scene that I've written, so I can see if they can, do the jargon, if they can kind of do the feel of it, and we take it from there. So it actually builds. It's like a domino effect. You start off with an idea, you go to people who you know and trust that are of one mind, and you get the ball rolling that way, and then it starts to grow. So that's basically how that works.
So yeah, you started out, obviously you were in acting first, so you have some connections and you have the idea and you kind of already know how to get it going. But I'm just saying, like I was telling Erica today, we were talking on the phone, I'm like, it's so well produced, like it seems like a television show. Like
it does. It's like a
well,
shorter
so.
television show.
Yeah.
It's such high quality.
And
realistic.
I'm not just saying that to like toot your horn because we have you here as a guest. Like it really is done well. Like I the different camera angles, like the the way that it's portrayed, like you see two people's faces, like it's just like it makes you feel like you're
thing.
Yeah,
it's collaborative. Every artistic thing is collaborative. So Eliana will give what she thinks. Jack will give what he thinks. It usually it starts for me because I'm the nurse and I know these stories and I'm the technical. Jack and I would have disagreements about a particular take. I say they didn't handle that tool properly, or we wouldn't do that.
Right.
But it's a great take. I'm like, yeah, but part of the thing is that we needed to make this authentic.
Right.
And that's
and that's going to drive every medical professional crazy.
Right. Anyone who knows this, our target audience is nurses. The public is to also educate them as to what we go through. So I like it to be entertaining, but I want it to be accurate, and it has to be accurate. So right. Jessica, I guess to answer your question, yeah, it started off, I knew some people that I initially approached, and then, and it kind of snowballed. We did make open calls for actors, and I would love to eventually be able to afford nurses to write stories that I have them write scripts would be fantastic. I would love that.
Oh yeah, I have a million ideas. Can we do a whiteboard episode?
I'm telling you, I got a ton of things like that.
But can I just say though, I think that you're the best actor on the show, in my opinion.
And thank you.
I'm being honest. I'm being honest.
Jessica,
and I'm not saying that. No, I'm not.
She's buttering
honestly,
you up.
Listen. Today, after watching it, I did not know which character you were. I honestly did not. Like, she sent me the episodes to watch, the link. I didn't know who I was interviewing. And watching it, I honestly thought that you were the most genuine, authentic character that seemed the most natural, in my opinion. And I came to her today on the phone and I said, I guarantee you the guy that with the dark hair, and she goes, that looks Italian. I said, yes. I said, that's the guy we're interviewing today. And she goes, yes, that's him. I said, I already knew it. Like,
thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, a funny thing that happens is, and this happened in the Code episode.
And that's no offense to other actors. I don't want to seem that way.
No, because they're great. They're all great too.
But
I forgot. Sometimes I would be in the scene, like in the Code episode, doing the Code, and I forgot they don't know what to do.
Yeah, right.
I forgot. Like, they're so good and they look so great that I would forget to direct them. You have to do that, and you have to, whatever you have to draw blood at this point. You have to check a pulse, all that, because I forgot they were so believable in the moment that I forgot that they were actors, not nurses.
Yeah.
Listen, I am offering right now, I will pay for my own flight if you want to put me in an episode. I will come out there on my own accord.
I would love for you both to come.
I want to live out my soap opera dreams. Just one time. Just one time in my life.
You have to give her an extremely dramatic scene.
I'll do whatever you want me to do. I can.
I mean, yeah. I listen to your podcast, so I heard some of your stories, and I think there's an interesting story right there. So
Yeah. There's a lot
The
of
nurse
stories.
dating a doctor. That one.
Oh God. Oh,
I mean,
woo!
I
I can bring my husband too.
I've been sort of trying not to do that, because
It's a little cliche, right?
I mean, it has been done, but
Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy. Oh,
but I would love for you guys to do that. Listen, I do listen. One of the reasons, besides I like your podcast, one of the reasons why I listen to it is you give me ideas for episodes. No, and I
think we need some credit.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of it that way, but I was thinking, like, for example, the one that you're talking about with the violence in the workplace.
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, we've all seen or been involved with stuff like that, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's serious. So
it is.
I want to do something like that. It's tricky.
Oh,
because,
please do. Please do.
Yeah.
Here's the tricky thing. We're on.
And
YouTube.
can I send you the ribbons to wear for that episode? The pins.
Totally. Oh,
yeah.
Yes,
awesome.
the black and red ribbons.
The black and red pins.
I want to do all that.
Okay.
Look, it's tricky. We're on YouTube. It's a guy dressed like Spider-Man farting in an elevator gets 1 million views, right?
Right.
And we get, we do pretty well, but it's nothing like that. It's tricky. It's a mixed bag of what you're going to see on YouTube, and it's hard to promote things that are really serious. And
so what's your long-term goal for the series?
The long-term goal is, because this is produced through that company that I formed, the non-for-profit City Theater Project, spelled, by the way, TEATRE instead of ER. It's the fancy way of spelling theater.
You're fancy.
I did that before I realized that was an issue, right?
It's theater.
Yeah, theater. That's a theater.
It's like saying Target instead of Target. Theater.
Right.
Right.
Vase and vase.
Yeah.
The long term is two things. Because it's through a non-for-profit company, we need contributions. So yes, individuals have contributed, which is great, but it's expensive. So we're looking for corporate support or foundation support. That's what we're working on now.
How can people sponsor or support you if they want to?
Well, thanks for asking. We can, if you go to citytheaterproject.org, you'll see the Nurses Station flag on it. You can donate there. Also, if you go to the YouTube page, Nurses Station, the series, it'll give you, if you click on, there's like Twitter, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It also gives our website, which you can donate. And it's all tax deductible. Any donation is tax deductible.
Right.
So we're trying to get foundation support. We're, new on the block, so that's hard when you're just getting started. But that's the goal, to keep it going and make enough money that we can pay actors, pay nurses to come in, because I want nurses to be in it too. Like I said, I'd love for you guys to be in it. I've had nurses perform in it because I want that. There's a reality.
Give me a scene to do right now. Give me a line. I'm going to do it right here on the spot. What do I need? What do I need? Give me something.
Let's see.
Something dramatic.
Give me something to say. Yeah, but this will be fun.
Yeah, you could say, "This is not a hotel." Here's your line right here.
Okay. This is not a hotel.
There we
How's
go.
that?
Beautiful.
This is not a hotel.
You're talking to a patient who wants to have their hot coffee.
This is not a hotel. This is not a hotel. See, he's directing me already. I'm Tony. This is not a hotel.
Oscar worthy, Jessica. Oscar worthy.
You've just cleaned up a patient, a C. diff patient. Okay.
This isn't a hotel. Oh.
Jessica, I need to see you in my office. Says the manager.
You got it. I mean, HR will be calling you, but that was terrific.
And I like the cursing on the show because it's realistic.
Yeah,
that part I like.
I mean, that's real. Let's face it. Nurses have a sixth sense of humor, and we have a mouth.
Jessica, I think, brought this up before about like some of the. Well, you were talking about the problem that you were discussing that your listener brought in, right?
Yes.
That some nurses don't like to rock the boat, and that's a big truth, especially. I think in my experience, I
deal with this all the time with nurses.
Don't like to hear the negative stuff about nursing.
Yes, they're drinking the Kool-Aid still. Yeah, unfortunately.
So when I have the old nurse saying, I'm too old for this shit, some of the nurses that they're like, oh, I don't like that. They don't get into that. So it's interesting. I would like them to, I want to show all aspects, and not some of it is not always complimentary, because we're human beings and
You're
we get
telling the real
tired
story.
and we get fed up with things and all of that. But
Absolutely.
you delivered that line perfectly. Someone
I
who's
think
had
so.
a rough day and someone who's wants to waste your time.
This is not a hotel. This is not a hotel. Look how
Cleaning up the
Eric,
poopy is
wait,
not
wait,
the
wait,
priority.
Erica,
yeah.
it's your turn. You do it, Erica. Come on. This is not a hotel. Go.
Okay. This is not a hotel. The H on the outside stands for hospital, not hotel.
That's good.
Right.
That was good. I felt the passion in
Good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty damn good. So
That is good.
Erica, before we wrap things up, let's talk about the Enema of the Week award that we're giving to Nick Garr. No.
Yes, thank you very much. I was looking forward to it.
Honestly, Erica, you have somebody in
Yes.
mind, don't you? For real.
Oh, okay.
I do. So those that follow me know that I have recently been covering the Cheryl Addison trial. I have a playlist on my TikTok and Instagram if you're not aware of that. And it came, culminated and came to an end while I was in Costa Rica. And so I wasn't able to get the last couple of days of it, but people have been following it for me. And it has come to my attention that despite the entire trial being live streamed, the day of the verdict was conveniently not live streamed. All I'm going to say is Baylor School of Medicine has a lot of money and a lot of power. And I find this to be a little bit suspicious.
As do a
So
lot
the
of
Enema of the Week award goes to Baylor School of Medicine.
Congratulations, Baylor. You win a pile of Congratulations.
That's right.
Yeah.
A whole colostomy bag there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not only an enema award, it's a successful enema award. It's an enema
That's
that
right.
worked. Yes.
Yeah.
With explosive diarrhea.
Yes.
Is this water? Is this water or oil? What
soap
is this?
suds. It's a
Oh.
soap. Actually,
Soap
it's a soap suds.
Wow.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's whatever works the best. That's all I gotta say.
With
It's
some
Go
mag
Lightly.
citrate
I don't know.
and Go Lightly
I
mixed
wish we were like in the same room instead of
I
like,
know.
because this would be we could have
We'd have a
we could have a
blast.
pina colada and
Seriously.
awesome
Well, me and Erica will be free on your first episode. And then after that,
cool.
we don't know. We'll see how good it goes.
After we get our Emmy nomination, our rates might go up.
If us to the next
Listen,
stratosphere, then we'll negotiate,
it would be nice if a bigger group of people saw this and went, you know what, this is this is a good idea. We should produce this, like a Netflix.
They really should. It's so important now more than ever, not just for the nursing profession, because the true story of nurses, like you said, has never really been told authentically before I've seen yours, but also for the public, because, right now, let's face it, we're public enemy number one since COVID, right?
Isn't
it's
that
taken
something?
such a turn. I know it's absurd, but we really need the public to understand the challenges that we really face.
And that would be, of course, the pie in the sky thing, but
Yeah. So tell everyone again where they can find you.
On YouTube, you can go to Nurses Station. Just go to YouTube and type in Nurses Station, the series, and you'll go right to our channel. And it's got all the episodes and all the shorts and all of that. You go to City Theater Project, Theater ER, not RE, Theater.
Mm-hmm.
RE, Theater, citytheaterproject.org/Nurses Station.
Where you can donate.
And where you can donate, exactly.
And you're on Instagram and TikTok as well.
Right. So just go at Nurses Station Series on Google and it'll give you all that stuff that I just said.
Perfect.
And you'll be able to find it.
Thank you, Nick, so much for joining us this week. This has been great.
This is an added thrill for me because I said I follow this podcast, and just to be invited on it is not only just very gratifying because it's nice when your work is acknowledged and appreciated, but to be here especially, it was just like super cool. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
You
Thank
rock. Thank you, Nick. Oh, and by the way, your hair is amazing. I don't know if anyone. I mean,
It's that
seriously,
Mediterranean hair, man.
I'm like, I cannot stop staring at the hair. Like it's so thick
and it moves. It's real. Wait a minute.
It's amazing. Like,
No.
kudos to you on the hair. I have no filter, Nick. I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
Mom
I'm
and Dad.
filterless.
I had very little to do with that.
Yeah.